What's up, guys? Content is such an important conversation because good content is like the ultimate accelerant. It helps you attract clients instead of chase them, and it helps you just land more clients for more money because it positions you as the expert in your field. So today we're going to talk about 3 quick shifts you can make to your content to change it from just okay, mediocre content into content that brings in clients. So that's what we're going to do today. Give me some likes and hearts and let's get started. And if you would like to see more content on content, then go ahead and put a comment, use the hashtag content, and we'll do more of this. We'll do a more in-depth training on it. But today I really just want to highlight 3 really quick shifts that really make a big difference in your business. And I see lots of people are jumping on, so hi everybody, how you doing? Give me some hearts and some likes. Let me know that you're there. Tell me where you're from. Tell me where you're watching from. Would love to see your location. Okay, so the first really quick shift that we want to talk about is that you actually want to be strategic. And I know that that's something that you've heard before. Diane says hashtag content. Love it. Thanks, Diane. So the first one is be strategic. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about, have you ever seen those shows? It's Minute to Win It is the one I'm thinking of. And a Minute to Win It, they've got all these little activities that you do, and you've got to accomplish it in 1 minute. And if you do it in a minute, you move on to the next round. And so I was thinking of, you might have seen it, they stack a whole bunch of plastic cups up in like a pyramid, and then they've got to stack it all into one stack using just one hand. And if you watch them, they've got a very specific method that they use. They get on there and they start with the top and they just start shooping, I don't know if that's a word, shooping the cups together, and they have a very specific order that they do to make it in time. And why do they do that? Why do they have this strategy? Well, it's because they want to get the desired result in the least amount of time, right? And I thought this was a perfect analogy to your content. You want to have really good top content that gets you your desired result in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort, right? And you do that by being really strategic and making sure that your content does 3 things for you. So there's 3 things in particular you want your content to do. Number 1, you want it to position you as the authority, right? So you want to come on and you want to provide value so that you are positioned as the authority. Number 2 is you want to actually indoctrinate your audience towards your methods and towards your solutions. So here's the truth. We all provide a service that gets a certain result, right? And we all have competitors that get that same result using slightly different methods, even the same method, but in slightly different ways, right? So your content should help teach your audience why yours is the best or why they should work with you, right? So indoctrinate kind of sounds like a harsh word or like something that we don't want to do, but the truth is you want to kind of convince them or persuade them that your methods are the best way to go, right? And even just persuade them that you're the right person to work with, right? Your content should help them take those steps towards becoming your client. And that's actually the 3rd thing you want your content to do, and that is help people take steps towards purchasing a client. And one of the best ways, and I'm looking over at my notes if you see me looking off screen, one of the best ways to do this, like how do I come up with content that does those 3 things, is actually just to ask yourself the question, what does my audience need in order to move forward, right? So you've got a certain result that you help people get. And notice I said audience, not my prospects, because I like to look at your entire audience, paying and non-paying, as one group. And you're just trying to move them through the spectrum of getting that result. And at some point, there's a threshold where they need to start paying you. But the more value you can provide for them, the more generous you can be with your content, the more it whets their appetite to cross that threshold and be a paying client. So you can provide really, really good content. You can provide really, really good information and not have to worry about, oh my goodness, I'm giving my best stuff away. Because the truth is that as long as you're helping them take steps towards accomplishing your result, eventually they're going to start working with you, because that's the way to get it, right? Eventually they're going to have to hire you if they want that result. So be really generous with your content. Okay, so that is shift number one, is be strategic. You know, if it's like those minute to win it guys, if they go in there and they're all willy-nilly about it, they're not gonna finish the task at hand. So you're the same way. You wanna make sure that you're focused in on what you're doing. Don't just wake up and say, hey, what content am I doing today? What am I feeling like? Come up with like 12, topics that you can revisit over and over again from different angles that help them move forward. Yeah, Ob says, great question. What do they need to move forward? Yep, it's a great one to get that content gear moving, and then just be completely generous with your content, right? The more you give, the more you'll get. Okay, I see a ton of people jumping on. If you're just jumping on, go ahead and tell us where you're watching from. I saw Canada a little bit earlier. Welcome. And also, if you want to see more content around content creation, use the hashtag content, and we'll do a more in-depth training on this if enough people are interested. So hashtag content if you want to see more stuff like this. If not, just say hey and let me know where you're from. Give me some likes, give me some hearts, and that will help push this video to more people so that more people get help. Okay, shift number 2 is to focus on communication. So this is the weird catch-22 we live in these days, is where we are just surrounded by information. Like if somebody wants to know how to do something, they're one Google search away from knowing how to do that thing. Yet most of our content we're putting out is how-to content, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't do how-to content, but I'm saying that your audience is already drowning in that. So you actually want to do less how-to content and do more content that shows you understand and empathize with your clients. And I'm seeing comments coming up. Ob saying she's watching from the Netherlands. Awesome. Welcome. Good to see you. And Royce is saying from Arizona. Good to have you, Royce. Good to see you here. Yeah, fantastic, guys. Welcome. So yeah, you want your audience to know that you understand and that you empathize with them. That's really what you want to do. It's less about like the nitty-gritty how to do something and more about, hey, I see you, I understand you, and this or whatever the situation is sucks, right? I'm reminded of, did you ever see the show Parks and Rec? I loved that show, and it's one of those shows that's on Netflix that I'll watch over and over again. I'll go back to it. In the last season, there's a character named Chris, and his girlfriend is pregnant, and he keeps trying to solve her problems. And so the episode is her going around and like complaining about all the stuff that she's going through and how she can't complain to her boyfriend because he just tries to solve it. So, the rest of the crew in the episode tells Chris he's just got to say, that sucks. So the resolution of the story is he's sitting on the couch with her and she's like, my feet are swollen and I can't walk, and she's just complaining, and he just goes, that sucks. And she just gets this look on her face like, oh man. And so she keeps going and he goes, that sucks. It keeps going, and just she feels better because she's able to vent and not feel like she's judged or feel like someone's trying to solve the problem. Your audience wants the same exact thing. They don't want you to solve their problem necessarily. They want to be heard. They want to be recognized. They want to be understood. And so sometimes you just have to say that sucks, right? Don't try to solve the problem with more how-to content, because the how-to content is there and it's available. Now, your how-to content is a good move. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying let's do less of it and let's have more actual conversations. Conversations that show you understand your audience, and part of that is make sure that you interact with people, right? Have them comment, have them, and then listen to what they say and have an actual conversation, respond to comments. And then the last little part here in how you focus on communication is once you show that you understand them and commiserate with them, open the door. Show them that there is a pathway to get what they want, but you don't have to take them down it, right? So a good example of this is I help people accelerate their revenue. A lot of my clients make in like a quarter what they would typically make in a year, right? Because we really focus on bringing in revenue. I don't need to walk around saying, hey, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, or telling them exactly what to do. I just need to say, hey, if you're interested in that, send me a direct message and let's talk about it. I open that door, or maybe I show a couple things that they can do, like tweaking their content to get more leads in the door, right? You start showing them the pathway and people get interested, and if they want more, they'll come looking for you. So Royce is saying she has a page for creatives and they respond most to tutorials, and that content is the most work. What are some better options? So yeah, what you need to do is start having conversation with them, Royce. Like just what we said, start digging in with them, and you can start in one-on-one conversations to get an idea for what people are talking about, and then move it into content like on your page, right? So that's a great way to kind of get started. Is just one-on-one conversations and looking for trends, and then bringing it to the whole group. And go back, we talked about in the first one, and you might have missed it because I saw you jump on afterwards. The first one was to be strategic. And in that section, we talked about asking, what does my audience need to move forward? When you're focused on helping your audience get a certain result, then you can talk more strategically, more broadly. It's when you don't have something you're working towards that you get really sucked into those tutorials, and they become really dependent on that, because it's kind of a superficial relationship, right? Great question, Royce. Yeah, I love it. I see some thumbs up and some hearts coming. Keep it coming, guys. Okay, I actually have got a call in 10 minutes, so I've got to hurry up. We're going to wrap it up here. So shift number 3 is to use stories and metaphors. Since we were cavemen living in caves, stories have been how we've communicated. Stories and metaphors. And you think about all the great masters that have ever taught, the philosophers from ancient Greek, even like great religious leaders, Jesus even, they used stories and metaphors to teach us insight so that we would really grasp that information and it would stick with us. Stories are how we communicate, and when you can bring a great story or a great metaphor to your content, then people will have that stick with them, right? I'm a religious guy, so I read the Bible, and there's stories in the Bible. Like there's one in particular about, Jesus says to wash the inside of the cup first before the outside, basically saying don't be hypocritical, clean inside first and then outside. Every time I wash dishes by hand, I think about that every time. So what stories can you bring that relate to normal everyday life that people, when they interact with that thing, they start bringing it in and they remember you and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, someone was talking about that, and they go back and look for you, right? Okay, so those were our 3 quick shifts, and let me restate them. So 1 is be strategic, right? Don't be willy-nilly with your content. Make sure you've got a really good point. And underneath that, we want your content to do 3 things. Position you as an authority, indoctrinate your audience, and help people move forward, right? Shift number 2 was that you wanted them to you want to focus on communication, less how to, more empathizing, more understanding content by just, saying, hey, one good example, and Royce, this relates back to what you were saying. One good example is just choose something that really sucks, right? Or that people really struggle with, and focus on the situation. Don't focus on the solution. Focus on the situation. Like for my audience, people that use proposals, they'll send out a proposal and sometimes they don't hear back for months, weeks. You ask some people, they never hear back at all, or they hear back a year later. So I could do a whole thing about how proposals suck. And then at the end of it say, I teach a method where you don't use proposals, you land clients in 1 phone call. It's awesome. But proposals, they're the worst, aren't they? And then we could have a whole conversation about that. So choose something that's a big thorn in people's side and talk about that. And then the 3rd shift was use stories and metaphor. And I'm going to give you 2 bonus ones. We're not going to go way deep in them, but I'm going to give you 2 bonus ones because I see them on my notes here and I think they're really important. And that is 4, keep it really simple. So 1 main takeaway, 1 main call to action, and focus on that, right? So you've heard me if you've watched this live, you've heard me say several times, comment with the hashtag content if you'd like to see more content on how to create strategic content, right? That's my 1 call to action. I keep going back to it. I keep referring to it so everyone knows exactly what to do. I'm not muddying the water with a bunch of different calls to action. Yeah, and this is difficult to talk about content in content, right? And then the other thing is have 1 main takeaway. We could talk about content in a bunch of different aspects, but this video is focused on small tweaks to make your content more effective, right? So have 1 main topic, one main call to action, and don't stray from that. Keep it really simple. And then the third is consistency. Consistency and quality, right? Like, don't set a goal for yourself like, I'm going to show up live every single day for 5 years, because your content's going to suck after like 6 months, right? You want to make sure that you find a rhythm where you're both able to provide really quality, good content. You're able to put time into thinking about it, but you're also showing up for people on a regular basis. You're staying top of mind. You're being part of the community, and you're being a driver of the community, right? So those are 2 bonus ones. Keep it simple and be consistent. All right, that's it. That's all I got time for. I've got a call, so I got to jump off. But I'd love to hear your comments. So again, if you've heard me say it once, I've said it like 5 times. Hashtag content if you want more content on strategic content. Is that confusing? Hashtag content if you want more content on strategic content. And yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts. What's your number 1 takeaway? Put it in the comments. I'll be there to respond to it. We'll talk soon, guys. See you later. Uh-oh. See if I can turn this off, because my my phone is covering. I can't turn it off. Here we go. I found it.